Is there a song that you're dancing to right now that you're feeling?
It's summertime, so I'm that type of person that put everything, like if I like it, I put it on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So I am like listening to VXO by K Tronada like nonstop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which section? Give us a little humming.
Oh Lord.
She dances. She doesn't say.
That one is a lot of too many fake rapping for me.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a perfect blend of the summer beat, house, and a little bit of R&B energy in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Have you choreographed to it / taught to it?
No, I've learned some really dope choreos to it though. It's definitely more of a hip hop song than heels, but yeah, it's such a good vibe song.
Dude, I'm like the same. I have like song hyperfixation. So I really only listen to one song at a time.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
And I put it on repeat.
Yeah. Until I can't stand it anymore.
No,
and I have to like pull my hair out if I ever hear it again. But until I get to that point, that's all I want.
Yeah. And like after I will listen to a song to death when I'm like choreographing. And by the time I finish choreographing, when it comes on during the shuffle, I literally have to skip it.
Yeah, no.
I can't listen to it.
Look away. No. I know exactly what you mean. Why are we like this?
No, I'm like, we're just seriously. So many good songs down the drain for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a go-to dance outfit?
I think it depends on if we're doing like heels or hip hop, right? But definitely heels. So much easier. Just slap on a good bodysuit and black leggings. Like, I like a little bit of I tried, but not
Wait, a little bit of what?
I tried, but I didn't try too hard.
Oh, okay. The outfit. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You want to feel good. And also heels, I want it to be like form-fitting, can see my lines, like look sexy, feel sexy. I'm not one of those people that is very like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what you wear, it's about the training. But no, like in heels, I have to look good to feel what we're exactly doing.
Like I was telling you earlier, I want to get into heels.
Yay.
One of the things, like aside from all of the other psychological stuff, but it's like, I feel like I need a new wardrobe.
I have a separate drawer literally for heels outfits, all these mesh fishnetty items that look identical. And every time I have to get dressed, I have to throw out the entire drawer.
And you're like, what's this?
No, seriously, I have to expand it and the pattern is different. But yeah, it's definitely a different vibe. But honestly, like I always say this because I feel like heels as a style is so new, like stylistically and like quote unquote look wise. So it is really what you want to make it. Like I like to blend a little bit of everything. I used to be an all black girl, but now I'm just like, it's okay to wear color to a heels class. It is literally okay.
Yeah. You know what look I really like? I like, because I like baggy pants no matter what.
Yeah.
I feel like it just adds more like volume.
Yeah, for sure.
So I like the look of a triangle bikini with baggy pants.
Yes, I love like that's a good like hip hop and heels class for sure. Yeah, love it.
What kind of heels do you wear?
My go-to for sure is just like a booty lace stuff strapped around my ankle, and I like the mesh material for the feet, so it's a little more flexible, so you can point better. But can go wrong with a thigh high. Really,
I love a good thigh high.
A good thigh high is.
I want to buy a pair. They're expensive. They're kind of expensive.
They're a little expensive.
But I would want like, this is like, I'm going from 0 to 100, but I want like leather, like shiny,
like the
red,
latex.
Oh my God, yes.
That is, you know what that is really good for? I've seen people wear it for like Vogue runways, the sex siren category.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is such a perfect like shoe just to build your outfit around.
Yeah, I would build everything around it. I feel like it's like, that automatically takes your energy to where it needs to be. Yeah.
Different character.
Yeah.
For sure. I would say though, my thigh highs are like the smooth material, the fabric material versus like the leather or the latex. Just because sometimes it gets stuck on the floor when we do floor work.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Why not like the scratch the nails against the chalkboard?
You're like, oh
no, seriously. Stuck. I would hate for myself to be stuck there. I mean, people force it to work. That's my thing. I'm like, okay, I want to look cute, but if I feel like I'm gonna stress about the outfit when I'm dancing, then I'm throwing the whole outfit away. I can't sacrifice my dance abilities for the look. I can't.
Yeah. What do you have any like looks in the past that you're like, why did I wear that?
Makeup wise, yes. Holy shit. This is like, can I swear?
Of course.
Okay. I was like, okay. But I used to only wear dark lipstick.
Really?
When I show up to class, doesn't matter what class, it's burgundy or like dark purple.
Ooh.
And I remember this one time, back in the day, pre-COVID, like Millennium gets packed. So I remember this one day I was rushing out of the house. I didn't wear my matte burgundy lipstick.
Yeah.
I remember I couldn't find myself in a mirror. I was like,
because you're tracking your lips.
No, literally, I'm like, where am I? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I gotta wear lipstick next time because I can't even find myself.
So hilarious.
Yeah, but I was looking back, I was like, also I was younger, so I really wanted to age myself to look more mature, look sexier. But it wasn't a good look for me, but in my head, it made me look more grown.
I hear you.
And I'm just like, why did I have to do all of that?
Kind of also follows like the makeup trends of that time of like what the years I'm assuming this happened in because the matte lip was a thing.
Matte lip.
But notice how we're just glossing it up right now,
Gloss.
Lip oils.
No,
hyaluronic
and
acid.
a little liner to just add some dimensions.
That's right.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes. So signature look, got that on lock.
Yes.
What about signature movements? Like what's your go-to dance move?
I actually have been thinking about that too because actually fun backstory with that is I remember when there's a period of time when I was choreographing, I was just like, okay, I literally have to come up, I was like putting pressure on myself that like I have to come up with new move every single choreo. I'm just like, I don't want to repeat anything I've ever done. Every choreo has to be the same. And one day I just started reflecting on all of my favorite choreographers. And I'm like, everybody has a signature move. Like that's their move. People remember them from the move. And it's okay to repeat several moves. So that's when I kind of let it go. And now I just kind of embrace it. So it actually took me a while to embrace the signature move because I used to not want to have one. But I love a good undulation. It could be like reverse or like the natural way to go down, or we can go back up. But my back, a lot of back movements, spine, lack of spine motion is my thing. For sure, love a good hair whip. Nice and big and full. What else I want to say?
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
The undulation, I know what you're talking about. It's something that I think is hard for a lot of people to do because it's like it's like a cat throwing up. How do you
throwing up? Question mark.
How do you get people to understand that motion? Like I feel like it's so hard to teach.
I was gonna say I actually teach that in like some of my basic classes because I feel like that move is used a lot in heels in general. So like if you've never really quote unquote dissected, then you're always gonna kind of have to it. It's hard because it's a little bit of it's almost a little bit of counterintuitive, but also it's flexibility and strength at the same time. So I like to teach people that, imagine if you're wearing pants and somebody's pulling you like by the button of your pants or the string right there. So your pelvis has to go first. And then it's like if somebody hit you from the back, then your back breaks and then your chest and then it's your neck and your head goes last. So if you think about it that way, it's okay. Then it's a matter of like how far you're going, right? You want to play with your boundaries. Not boundaries, like your physical limit a little bit, but also the range of motion,
the undulation,
exactly, and also just not being scared to lose your head because it can look very like you can let it go here, but your head can be here, and you look, you know what I'm saying? So it's a mental thing because people think every time they lose their focus, they feel like they're falling because our head is what's keeping our balance. So anytime we're like folding down, coming up, losing your head always feels really scary, especially in heels because we're like up on the ground, but just also learning to trust your body a little bit more.
Same with hair whips, right? Because you're like literally letting go of your head.
But hair whips is a different story because I feel like you have to like loosen up here because like the more you crunch up, the less of a whip that you have, but also like like you have to think the energies to come back down because I feel like when we whipped right or left, people always focus on the direction, but then you get stuck there, but you have to complete the full circle versus like getting stuck on the direction that you're going to. It sounds very conceptual, but it makes sense when you think about it.
I guess like in the grand scheme too of a lot of like just dancing, good dancing is like smooth connections. So it's like, where does it end? Where does it begin?
One thing leading to another.
This one's could be hard.
Just stretch your neck.
Don't want to have a moment. I've definitely like pulled like a thing. Have you ever?
I've done, it is so funny. I've definitely pulled my neck when I was running back in the days. I was just being, unfortunately, a little bit. My head is a little inflated because I was running. I was like, oh my God, I'm running so fast. And let me see who's behind me. So I snapped my neck back to look at how far they're behind me. And I snapped it so hard, but I didn't know it was going to snap. So I snapped it back. And it was, yeah.
Oh my.
This was my teaching lesson of not to be too cocky.
That's such a good life lesson, honestly. Yeah. Stay focused on yourself.
No, I'm like, don't worry about how far ahead. Just finish your fucking race.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Broke my neck for that one.
Yeah, don't break your neck over. You'll win.
Yeah.
You'll win.
Yeah.
So I remember when I first started taking dance classes, this was, I'm going to age myself, but this was like last year. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
No. When I first started dancing, there were 0 cameras in the classroom. Also because our phones didn't have cameras. Yeah, I'm old, okay?
Or it's pixelated.
Yeah.
So
Like it was on like a Motorola Razr, like a Nokia brick. But I actually like having, like me personally, I like recording because I like having a memento from the class.
Yeah.
Like I love like content and I love watching myself and seeing what I could do better, all of that. However, I think people have different perspectives on filming and also how it's done.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the camera and filming during class?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different because, there are the phone usage, like filming each other type of stuff. And then there's like the professional camera, right? I think in general, like you were saying, like, I'm going to quickly age myself as well. But I feel like I experienced the bridge between that generation versus the newer generation now because I think a lot of how classes especially are operating is shifted after COVID. So I was lucky enough to witness before and now obviously leading the spaces after. I think honestly, it's just a matter of like how you're viewing the camera and how you're using the camera, right? I feel like, a lot of people are, I want to say, arguably, a lot of people saying like, oh, a lot of people now going to class not to train just before the footage. I think that's really what quote unquote part of the problem is because I feel like if you view the footage, whatever phone professional, to be the end result and to be the sole purpose of you taking class, then it can be a little bit problematic because then you are so, I guess, value and how good the class was dependent on this 1 minute, sometimes not even that, of your performance, right? Then it can get very repetitive, one, and also very just not encouraging because if you didn't do well, then it's easy to look down on yourself and let that moment kind of define how good you are as a dancer or how your training is going and blah, 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 blah. But I feel like if you're just viewing it as like a tool, like kind of, I always think of it as a bonus. Yeah. I'm like, if they're filming, that's great because I will have something to study. If not, that's also great because I just literally don't have to worry about that. So I also feel like it's a matter of like understanding that this is not the end all be all. It's not a definition for who you are as a dancer versus, and also how good of a class that you had. Because I feel like I think about class afterwards. I think after class is very important because you want to think about what you learned and obviously what you could do better and all of those things. And this is actually, I've talked about it in somewhere else, but this is actually one of my pet peeves. I don't mind my students or just in general, any class spaces, people are asking each other to record. But I feel like sometimes those kind of things can get a little carried away and a little disrespectful in a way that's like, if you see another person that is clearly practicing, you're disrupting their class flow to ask them to stuff your phone in their hand. That's a little bit abrasive for me. But also at the same time, I think I talk about this in my class a lot because I'm like, I love you guys. It's okay to record, but I don't want you to watch that video immediately because your peers are still performing. And it's just like, if we're talking like right now, it will be very rude for me to go on my phone and disconnect. I feel like, I always say how you did is not going to change already. It already happened. The video is not going to change. You're not going to magically did better or whatever because you're going to watch it immediately, but give the attention and the support that your peers deserve and just watch it in your car or like watch it when you
right
snack
after
in
class.
bed.
Go to your car and sit there in your own sweat
and watch it.
Stay stuck there for 30 minutes watching the same clip over and over and over again.
And then you're like sliding it back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm like, did I do that one? Did I flex my feet?
And then if there's like two versions, you're like, well, this one, my energy was better, but this one
cleaner.
yeah. Like, do I want to go for cleanliness or energy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that is when I feel like it changes the class experience for me, is when you let the quote unquote filming or footage overtake what the class experience is supposed to be. Also, that type of stuff can get a little bit too like you're kind of too dependent on that very moment, right? Because I feel like sometimes it is better to let it sleep overnight and just enjoy the experience that you had and look at your hard work later. Because if you do it right away, sometimes it can get like very frustrating. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but yeah, like it for me it goes back to like respect and support, and that's how you build really community. Is like really being there for each other in that way, because we all know what it's like to feel nervous when we step on the floor, and we all know how good it feels when other people are like honestly just paying attention for you and rooting for you. You don't have to scream the loudest, but it's an energy that's different.
Yeah. They're present with you in that moment. Like, we're so busy in our day-to-day that we're rarely like giving our energy towards the same thing. So in that like hour and a half time, like you can be present.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think this also points to how we were talking about different skills within dance earlier, how teaching, choreographing, they're both different skills.
Yeah.
And it's almost like in a class, the act of learning is a different skill than the act of performing.
Yeah.
And then we're kind of like jumbling them versus I really loved what you said about like sometimes it is helpful to sleep on it and then the next day you can perform it 100 times better.
Yeah.
You know, so to not get hung up on like, was that a bad class because I didn't perform right away? Like some people don't.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of people in professional dance settings, you sleep on it
on the
a
choreo.
lot.
You sleep on the choreo, and I'm always that type of person. I'm like, if I hire you, you look a hot mess during, it's okay as long as I know that you won't look a hot mess on a day of. That's fine.
Yes.
It's okay for me. So it's also interesting, I feel like, you know, like you were saying, the active learning, right? So I feel like that also comes from like being intentional about taking class, because some classes or some days you want to actually work on performance, like that can be your focus, and some days maybe you want to work on being clean. So you like, you know, we are like, as humans, we can pick and choose our focuses. So if your performance is not strong on a day you chose to focus on being clean, like I think that's okay. Your how good you did is not, it's just simply achieving the goal that you set. And, you know, nobody needs to set those goals versus you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said. Sometimes when people are new to dance or new to taking class, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you wish, or what are some things that new dancers could know walking into a new dance space, class etiquette wise?
Yeah, I think this is a beautiful topic, because I don't feel like, I didn't know in the beginning when I first started, but like I kind of looking back, I'm like, I wish somebody would have told me, because I would have acted quote unquote better so much faster. I think it's like there's general like rules of golden rules that you can abide by. But really, honestly, it's more about respecting the structure of the class. And, I would say every class is similar, but like it does depend on the instructor. But in general, you want to respect the flow that the instructor is providing. Because like, for example, like asking questions, because some people allow you to ask questions as they go, but some people do checkpoints. And regardless what the situation may be, you always want to, and it sounds so like juvenile, but you always want to raise your hand before you just blurt out a question on your own. And just this is simple and almost like safety things in general in any classes. You always want to be aware around your spacing, just physically, because for me, it's very simple, because sometimes like when I first started dancing, I'm so fixated on like getting the steps correctly. I'm like kind of tunnel vision. I'm not even aware of what's happening around me, but just really taking that good look around. And I always say, if you feel like you might hit somebody, just move. You don't want to like fuck around and find out, because then it might be too late, So especially in heels, we are wearing the stiletto.
Pointy.
Exactly. And we're, going up and down the floor. Sometimes, when you don't travel together or you mess up a step, you can easily like seriously injure other people. So I think that is something that is more important also, just for a safety reason. And I want to say last thing, this is very specific but very important for me, is like in a bigger class, some teacher, or I want to say most teacher, will ask you to switch lines, like go to a different place in a room, or just from half sit so the back can see, like actually do those things.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there is a quote unquote epidemic that I'm seeing people hogging the front.
Really?
Yes, in class.
Gosh.
Yes.
I feel like that's such an obvious thing though, because everyone can see that.
But if you don't care.
Wow. I stay in the back. I feel like that's more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it out of like politeness, I swear. It's more like
stress.
I just don't, yeah.
But I feel like for me, it's a little bit of both. Like I feel like, like also I say this too, like you want to get used to all parts of the room because like that's by the time you do small group, like you're like all of a sudden you end up in the front or in the back, and
you're gonna be like, where's my lips?
I'm like, no, you're gonna be like, who am I? What's my name? What am I doing here?
What year is it?
Seriously. So it's just like, it's good to also challenge your learning, but also like to me is like everyone paid the same amount of money. Everyone is wanting to be a part of the class. So think of your peers in a way that's like, you want to let them have also the same experience as you. Like, I'm not the type of person, unless they're like my assistant, so they're just pretty much a shadow of me so people can see. Like there's no favoritism in the space, and allow others to also take up the space in the front. That I think that's just some basic golden rule of thumb that you want to like abide by.
Man,
basic, but goes a long way.
So you teach twice a week. In between you're choreographing, you're doing other things. You're very actively dancing, but you're still so passionate about it. How do you balance keeping your passion alive and not burning out?
This is a good question because I feel like I've heard from my students as well. Like people have asked me in moments of like, oh, I don't know, like I don't feel the same way anymore versus burnout. I think creatively it's a little bit different, like as a choreographer and as a teacher. But I think especially as a dancer, I would say you always want to think long run versus like, oh, like how many classes can I squeeze in this week? But you want to be intentional with your training, like we have been saying. I think one thing that is very important, and I felt like as a dancer, it sounds so weird, but I really never experienced a burnout all these time, because I also think this is something I can share is, I feel like as dancers, it's very natural for us to go to like the teacher and be like, oh, like what's some feedback you can give me? Like, oh, what can I work on? And I remember there was a moment of overwhelm once upon a time when I asked this question to this instructor, and she gave me like literally a list of things, and I was like, oh my God, when am I gonna find time to do all of these? So then I started getting stressed, and I'm like, can I even do this? Blah, 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 blah. And I think, again, it's good that we ask those questions, and it's good to keep on doing that. But imagine hearing that, like, I don't know, every other day, like all these things that you got to work on. I think it's important for us to, of course, work on the parts that we can improve upon. But also, I don't think we do this enough, is think about the parts that we did do good on, like our strength. Like, so, like, I feel like over time, I learned to like, okay, that part wasn't good. I feel like I need to work on this and this and this. For example, it wasn't like the cleanliness of my arms for a long time. But I'm like, I really like how I attacked this part. I'm like, my figure eight is slaying. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think walking away from each class, like I had a little bit of positive to walk away from as well. So it doesn't become like overbearing to the point like, oh my gosh, there's so many things for me to work on, and I don't even know if I'm built for this. It's easy to feel that way. And also like really just patience, and this is so corny, but comparison is a thief of joy. And I just think I really don't mind the fact that I made only baby steps. Like, I'm like, okay, it might be just like the smallest thing that I got better, but that is still growth. Like, learning to celebrate the small moments will keep you going. And like, when I first started dancing, this is in the very beginning, because I had no idea that I was surrounded by all these people that's danced since they were like 3 years old. That it's just like don't feel like you have to look like anyone else in the room, and not to be like, oh, how come they're so good and they do it perfectly and I'm not, because again, it's such a simple concept, but I feel like we do it often, especially when we see that around us all the time. But like for me, it's just like, okay, it's really not about how, like, where they are, it's about where I am.
Yes. Yeah.
It is so simple, but I remember when I first started, I was like, damn, I'm like really playing catch up with all of these people, because I danced later in life. So I'm like, I can't believe I'm playing catch up. I'm like, how am I going to catch up? I'm like, I'm not even flexible. Like, all these things, as you're thinking this in the class, you're not even learning effectively. So many things can get into your head, but just really allowing yourself to focus on what you can do and acknowledging what you're doing well. It's just that self-affirming will keep you going for a very long time. And I would say this, like, I feel like this, I can also relate it to me creating. I'm a little bit like, simply put, I'm easily bored. I need the constant like inspiration and stimulation. So after I get really comfortable with a style, like I always want to try something new. That's why I don't really want to pick the same type of songs every time I teach, because the same songs is gonna draw from the same source of inspiration, meaning similar movement, and I really don't enjoy doing that. So like now and nobody looks at me, but I am like in my hip hop journey, because I feel like I've done the heels for so long, and I'm like, I just want to be in a space where I know I'm not where I want to be. But like that means I have so much to learn, which is really exciting. As I'm being a teacher. So yeah, like the fear of being stagnant really motivated me a lot, because I was like, I don't ever want to continuously be in the same place. I would hate to look back where I was like a year ago creatively and dancing and feel like, oh yeah, like that's me. Like I don't want to feel like I've ever peaked at the moment. I can always be more. So I think that constant stimulation will also keep you on your toes. And it's like introducing, I don't know, a dog to a new toy. You're like, oh my god, like obsessing over this toy right now because it's so new and so fun. Yeah, that's
I
me.
love that.
I
Yes.
hope.
I heard 3 main points, if we want to summarize. One is, it was the middle part of what you said, but to shift the focus to yourself. Like, you're not in a race next to all these people. It's really just about you. And you can use other people for context, for observation, for inspiration, but it's really about you.
Yeah.
Second is focus on the positive parts. It's almost like you're manifesting. Like, what you pay attention to, what you give your energy to is going to amplify. So you can be critical, and you can give yourself feedback and take feedback and know that there are things that you want to improve. Yeah. But still spending a lot of your energy and like emotional space on knowing that you love certain things that you did. Yes. And the third thing was your curiosity and explorative nature to always want to grow and be better. Yeah. I feel like that's where I'm a little stuck, because I feel like I know what I'm good at. Yes. And like down to like the exact choreographers that I can wear their movement well. Yeah. And it'll feel natural, or I know what songs they're going to pick, or I'll like look for what songs are going to be in their Instagram story for that day when they're teaching. Yeah. Like, okay, they're doing like like a song that you like. Yeah. Which I describe as like sad sexy.
Yes. Hey, LMA is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Side sexy, or like side chick music.
Yeah. Side chick music.
I know what songs I like. I know what choreographers I like. I know what movement profile I like and can do. Yeah. And I don't go beyond that, because I feel like the being a beginner at something, like you just said, you embrace that. Like, you're like, I want to not be the best at it so that I can grow and like get better. I don't know, man. I don't know how to get over that.
You know what's the beauty about being a beginner? It's just you literally have no expectation, and you literally cannot be worse, because you're already so bad. I'm like, when I first started hip hop, I know I was looking crazy. Yeah. I know that. But I'm like, okay, whatever. I always say this in my head. I always tell myself, I'm like, you can't look bad without looking, like you have to look back until the moment you look good. Like I think back my heels journey, I used to look crazy, and I tell people now, like, that I'm teaching and they're frustrated with how where they are in their journey, I'm like, girl, like, you should have seen me where I started. You already starting off on a better foot than I did. And it's like I have to use that journey to humble myself, because I'm like, okay, well, like, once upon a time I was looking insane in heels too. So
don't you think that, okay, because that's a perfect, you're describing me, because like when I looked stupid doing what I'm good at now, I did look stupid.
Yeah.
But now I feel like, one, I'm like more older and my frontal lobe has developed. So I'm like looking at myself and I can like, I'm more sentient, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Like a dog that is like looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
And like, instead of like barking, like, what's that? They're like, no, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But looking dumb when I'm trying to be feminine and sexy, it feels like a deeper cut.
But you know what? I would say that's why heels, in a way, that is more that's why I feel like it's way more intimidating, because it's so much more of a vulnerable style.
Yes.
Because like you never feel vulnerable going into, no offense to hip hop, but you just like, okay, maybe I look crazy, right?
Yeah.
Or like look a little stupid. But being like, you know, trying to be trying to be sexy and be womanly, but then not look good doing it, it kind of, in a way, it makes you feel like, oh, like, am I not womanly enough?
Literally.
And I'm like,
that is like,
am
hard.
I actually not sexy?
Yeah.
You know, like it kind of like connects with like how you feel as a woman. I think that's why also it's important to really allow yourself to be free of that, because like knowing, like, you have to come into those classes knowing that your womanhood cannot be challenged, and how sexy and how beautiful you are is not challenged by how you do in the class. I always tell people, especially in the beginner class, I always say this, I'm like, how you do this choreo is not reflective of how you are as a woman. This is literally a part of your exploration of how you want to define how feminine you want to be, how sexy you want to be. And I always say this, there's not one way to look sexy. Like, my sexy might look different than the person, like, there's so many choreographers, every heels instructor is sexy to me, but they're sexy in a different way, you know? And then, like, because there's no right answer, so literally the answer is for you to find, right? So maybe, and that's why I also feel like, you know, I don't expect anyone to dance just like me, because a part of it is about who I am as a woman. And if that side doesn't connect, that's okay. You do it the way you want. There's a lot of, like, it's scary because you're putting yourself out there, but there's also a lot of freedom in that.
Yeah.
Because the comfort zone is not in heels. The comfort zone is in you know, who you are as a woman. So, you know, you can always come back to you. So I think that's why I feel like heels is like weirdly so addicting, because you're really just exploring and redefining yourself every time you go, or sometimes you're literally reaffirming yourself. Like, I can't tell you how many times people are like, yeah, like, I'm coming back to this style, or I'm starting this style because I just went through a breakup, like, my partner cheated on me, so now I'm just reclaiming my power back and feel sexy again. And I feel like heels is the perfect, like, channel to do that, you know, to like, once you go through this change. And sometimes is, you know, some, like, in my class, I have like older students as well. Like, you can still, like, being sexy and feminine, there's no age limit. There's no, you know, not a certain type of body. You're literally allowed to feel that at any stage in your life as a woman. So that's why I feel like, you know, like, this is a note for me, because I feel like you know, there is a lot of weight and responsibility for it, because this is such a vulnerable style. And you want everyone to walk out feeling more free and liberated and more themselves. Really, it's not really, it is about the choreo, but it is also not about the choreo, you know? So I think maybe expanding on that will help you just getting in. And honestly, like, nothing you do in that space will challenge you at all. And you're already literally a princess with a white dress on this couch with bleached but not dead hair. Like, it's amazing. So it is not possible to be, you know.
I'm gonna like listen to this over and over again, like, set it on my
put
speakers
put it on the morning alarm when you wake up.
Yeah. And then it's gonna like incept into my brain, and then I'm gonna get over my mental block. I'll start taking Cece's classes.
Yay.
Then I'll be unstoppable.
Yeah, no,
okay?
and then
Watch
after that,
out.
you're literally gonna be obsessed because heels is literally so addictive.
I can feel that.
Yeah.
Because getting like even higher level,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say read this book. No, I saw a TikTok.
Listen, we love an honest queen.
And they said something that resonated with me, and I didn't even realize why. Like, I couldn't even list all of the reasons why that felt true to me. But they were like, sexual energy or feminine sexual energy is creative energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time,
true.
we deny ourselves by denying our own creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, we get into maybe the relationships that we shouldn't because we're using that as an escape from our own, like, our own duty to ourselves and our own creative nature.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you aren't like with somebody and you're, you know, you are just yourself, that's when you get the most creative.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like also, you know, as women, I feel like I'm biased, okay, obviously, but you know, we're made to be nurturing. So I think it is easy for us to carry weight of other people, just in general, maybe a romantic partner, maybe your friends, I don't know what it is, but it is like heels, dance in general, like anything that is self-expression, it's just honestly another vessel to come back to yourself, because you're releasing all those things from like others, like the environment, the things you grew up with, society's ideology, your past relationship, and you're just really constantly in a journey of like rediscovering you, because every stage in your life is also going to be different. And like you were saying, honestly, like I feel like all of this beautiful teaching career and being who I am as a teacher, and honestly being who I am meant to be right now, I feel like I reached that moment after I exited a relationship that was really, really not healthy for me.
Really?
And I think it was weird because I didn't think of it like that, right? Obviously I was like going through a breakup, blah, 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 blah. But now looking back, I'm like, I literally feel like everything took off literally immediately after. So now I feel very like, I don't like, of course, like I feel like the right partner is not going to be, or the right people just in general in your life is not going to be in the way of you reaching your full potential and you freeing yourself and you empowering yourself, really. But you know, that's everyone's journey to find out, and like it's individual. So I feel like heels is the perfect vessel to do that, because you can come to this form in so many different stages in life and for so many different reasons, but you can use it however it may empower you at the stage in your life, and it's beautiful.
Wow, you're like heel sales after this podcast.
Literally, they're like heels class near me.
What do you think the dance industry is missing?
I want to say community, because I feel like, I'm not saying the community I've been exposed in, they're not supportive or anything. I feel like in general, I feel like in the arts, it is easy to view each other as competition versus as your peers. And, you know, as corny as it, there is actually room for everyone to win. And I feel like sometimes because we're in LA, there's like so many like things happening all the time, and there's so many opportunity, but at the same time, so many people. It's easy to view each other that way. And same thing versus like class, right? Like you're always thinking of like, if this can land me somewhere, or maybe I'm going to be quote unquote the best one in the class. And I think it is, I don't want to say, of course you want to like push yourself to always be the best version, but not at the cost of others and not rooting for other people. I think that is a little bit of something. As a teacher, I feel, I'm not saying the spaces are not supportive. I just feel like it can be more. And I feel like community is not just a word I like to like throw around. It's really about also connecting with, like, this is what I actually want to say. Like a lot of people, like myself included, a lot of my friends are from dance, that we became like real life friends, not just dance friends. You know what I mean? Big difference. I feel like sometimes I don't feel like there's a level of care that should be there. versus like, oh, you're just like my dance friend, you're just someone I see all the time in the dance world, or versus like, oh, you're just like my colleague, blah 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 blah, versus like, no, like I care for you as a person and I want you to do well. Like I think as a teacher, like I was telling you earlier, like I get so many of the same student, and obviously we're like not hanging out and like freaking drinking together, right? But maybe we will. Oh. That sounds kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a deep care for them because they're really people I see every day, like often, and sometimes they tell me personal things and their journey, and I've seen them literally like grow from like a young adult to a woman. You know what I mean? Like, sounds so old right now, but and also just amongst your colleague with each other, like teachers, like, you know, like rather than think about like what we can get from each other, like more like an energy of collaboration and opportunity offering to each other. I think that is a little bit of lacking just from the, you know, I don't want to blame it in the outer environment, but I don't think being in LA helps, you know, versus like if we would have been like in a small town, or it would have been much simpler. But definitely that. And I want to say I do feel like the dance space right now is lacking a little bit of respect, because I think, you know, like the same amount of respect given for the training and the arts are, I feel like it's not the same as now, because I feel like a lot of people are fast tracking their results or what they want to accomplish. And, you know, TikTok, 15 seconds, you can be popping just like that. And again, like all power to use, because there's different ways to make money and make it quote unquote now. But I feel like it's a different story to respect and still honor that same energy of the same amount of like dedication and determination for your craft versus like just throwing that away and take the other way around. Like I think, again, I'm someone who witnessed both, and I think my career is the beautiful like success of my career is a result of the newer generation. Yes, of course. But at the same time, I try to take as much as I can from who taught me to still sprinkle it, sprinkle to the people that I'm teaching, because I think certain values and certain like, you know, certain patience is still something that I feel like will sustain us for a long time and keep, again, like we were saying, like the passion and the love alive, because it's not just about like who's going viral next and what's the hottest song right now so we can get views. It's not about like, remember when we used to post the Instagram video like this way, when it's more about the groove versus cropping it so it's just yourself. Like I think that, you know, social media and everything, like it all changed our viewpoints, right? Because now it's all about you as the individual. That's fine, but I wouldn't take away the power of the community. I wouldn't take away the respect of like, yeah, sometimes it's really just not about simply you. It's about everybody else. It's about one. I miss the days when, you know, the teachers just pick 2 gigantic groups and call it a day, and you were like, wow, that was, everyone was amazing, that group, versus like, yeah, so and so was so good, like that one person was so good. I think that balance is, maybe that's a better word, the balance is missing a little bit, for sure. That went I went very deep than I thought.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. I've heard similar answers from a lot of different interviews. I think there's actually a counterculture though. Like, I think we got very zero-sum game competitive and self-centered. Like this experience centers around me, right? Yeah. Versus I think there's a lot of like, you know, say what you want about Gen Z, but I feel like Gen Z is very authentic and present. That's what they value. Yeah. Just, you know, broad strokes, stereotypes. But it's very like the counterculture away from like not overcorrecting, but it's almost correcting how selfish we've become. Yeah. To be like, wait, wake up. Like, what are we doing here? You know? So I'm very hopeful.
Yeah. And you know, it's so crazy because like I seen like how we used to post versus like how I or my students post now, like I used to post the whole group and I tag everyone in the group versus like now this is like just a simple example. I've seen my students literally like, we use a Zoom track when literally they only follow you. The other day I saw like a video, like they literally blur out everyone around them. I'm like, that is a new one. I've never seen that before.
That is new. I kind of, in a weird way, I kind of like it because like sometimes the other people in that video don't necessarily want to be posted.
Yeah, I do get that regard. I for sure do. Like, but it's just the change is so it's just so different.
Yeah. Like what CapCut feature?
No, seriously. I still don't know how to do the track zoom, by the way.
Me neither.
Like my friend did it for me one time. I was like, how do you do that? You have to do it manually? It can't do it automatically.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. Difference though.
Right. Those things said, what is your ultimate dream in dance? It could be anything like, what you're currently focused on or, a really out there dream. It could be as specific or as general as possible.
I definitely feel calling and purpose in teaching. So, and I do feel like arguably nobody's arguing with me, okay? Like I feel like maybe people around me is arguing this with me, but I do feel like I'm a better choreographer than I am a dancer. Like I feel like my talent lies a little bit more on that side. So one is I would love to teach as much as possible, like touch different community really. Like it can be convention, it doesn't have to be, but I feel like heels is really just growing into such a beautiful like genre, and I would love to be one of the people that represent it and like share it the best way that I could. But also I would love to choreograph for honestly only artists I enjoy listening to. Like the music has to connect with me and I would love to create for them. And like
examples.
LMA, I love her, amazing. It's interesting because I feel like some of the artists I like, I feel like they wouldn't want to dance because the songs are like slow. You know what I mean?
But the ambiance, you're designing all the motion.
Yeah, like love her. Like there's so many. The biggest one will be Usher, but that's not gonna be for a long time because people are in place for that. Like I don't know, I will be the next one. But yeah, for sure. Just like I love all things like I would love to WizKid. I don't know. It will be amazing. Yeah, like it's on the top of my head.
Yeah.
Only, but yeah.
No,
like,
put it out there. We're doing it.
Just the artists I enjoy listening to and connect with artistically that I can really see visions for. Then I would love to create for them. It all has to. It's kind of like us, like how we came about. It has to connect the right way for it to happen. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, we're putting it out there. We're manifesting. Let's give a huge shout out to your different communities.
Yes.
Could be anyone from your students, your teachers, your friends.
Let me just say in general, like shout out to the people that supported my teaching journey from the very beginning because, obviously I'm like more known now, but my class has not always been big and there are friends and students that believed in me from the very get-go. And yeah, shout out to my mom because I would not have been here if it wasn't for her.
Yes.